Now, first up, we have to talk about her music theft. It's no secret that Jennifer Lopez has been accused of stealing or borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. Now, one of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better be getting some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for a shanty, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked with Yves Gotti. But this song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you still hear her in the background vocals in Lopez's version. Moving on to the embarrassing feud with her makeup artist. Scott Barnes, who's worked for J-Lo for the last 20 years, has had to deal with so much of her crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, she essentially banished him after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Marc Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, and when asked about how J-Lo treated him, Scott said, "It was like I had the plague." Interesting enough, eventually she ended up giving him his old job back after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, "I went right back to work with her and we never spoke about it again, which is even weirder." Now, the funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remained on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize. Next, we have sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. "If I was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes, that's what they should have effing done," she said. Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the FNL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the woman for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about, though, is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform. But judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they even asked her to share the stage at all. Next, we have the cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on and off again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Bennifer. Now, I mean, these two just got married after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago. But the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag and include alleged cheating. So in July of 2022, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Gilgy along her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accusing J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Gilgy. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing about her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Now, this brings us to our next point, the Marc Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere, and it seems like fans love the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000 while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck around the same time. But the on-again off-again couple picked their romance back up when Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not JLo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, as she said, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Now, Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had a history, but he should have put more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place, so in a way they're both at fault. And now let's talk about the insensitive comments. So to give some background on why everyone felt that JLo was trashing belly dancing. A part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assumed represent the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But JLo apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this and said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wanted something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused as to why this was controversial, it's essentially because she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and that's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese, Syrian, Arab roots. Next up we have avoiding the Bronx. This one train wreck of an ad campaign led to people openly mocking both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. Now, the central premise of the ad was that sometimes JLo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song, in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which has been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. Now, a press release at the time stated that she'd be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad, and that a body double stand-in and was used instead, calling it, quote, "It is such a breathtaking assemblage of hoary urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Next we have the movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined JLo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. Now, she basically decided to trash all other celebrities that were big at the time and try to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now, this is so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for longer than JLo, so there was really no comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously, saying, "Tell me what she's been in, I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in." Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. Yikes. Moving on to the accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching a full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, JLo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and owned the radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-word she drops in her final verse. Now, the issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much that 10 years later in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest debuts of all time list. But right Rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term. Not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans, using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. For anyone to think or suggest that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me. Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by J. Rule himself, and he encouraged her to say it. And lastly, we need to talk about the awful reasons she had a maid fired. Now this one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Prey Doja was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of J-Lo and worked at the courage to knock on the star's hotel door to ask for an autograph and was promptly turned away. Prey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all of my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Made in Manhattan. Now after receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I've heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful."
According to Dannii Minogue, for her it was J-Lo's insane ultimatums, and she's not alone in that. Some of the reports about Lopez's most egregious sounding on-set demands and ultimatums aren't just from projects she stars in, but also even when she's appearing on a show just for a single day. According to a report for her BBC interview, Lopez required enough dressing rooms for a 90-person entourage if she was going to show up on the day of. In 2022, Dannii Minogue shared what J-Lo was like on their shared episode of Top of the Pops. Minogue and Lopez were set to feature during the same filming, but Lopez at the last second threatened not to show. And according to Minogue, it was unless her backstage room was redecorated. "I was told everything had to be white, including the sofa. All I could think is girlfriend is covered head to toe in body makeup. How do you sit on an all-white couch?" Meanwhile, when she's the star of the show is quite literally revolving around her power-tripping schedule. According to an insider who spoke to Now magazine in 2011, Lopez demanded to eat at exact times every day, no matter what was happening. If the natural lighting was just right, if everything was set up perfectly, Lopez would still walk off set at 10:15 on the dot to eat food specially made for her. This source was from the set of What to Expect When You're Expecting, a movie that J-Lo filmed with Cameron Diaz, and the two famously didn't get along following her next worst J-Lo moment, the movie line interview, which went down in history, man. In an era of interviews PR managed within an inch of their lives, it's rare for a major star to shred into another, let alone half a dozen. But times were different in 1998, and while speaking the movie line, Jennifer Lopez appeared on a mission to burn bridges with every female actor of her generation. When asking Lopez why she believed she was even popular in Hollywood at the time, her answer was simply, "Because I'm the best." During that interview, described as an orchestrated and deliberate scene, J-Lo's lounging by her swimming pool mid-massage as she proceeds to say that Cameron Diaz was a lucky model who had given a lot of opportunities I just wish she would have done more with. That she didn't know any work Gwen Paltrow did, and that she was famous by association to Brad Pitt. Oh, she also said she wasn't a fan of Winona Ryder, and even S-shamed Salma Hayek and bravely slated another multi-talent Madonna by saying, "Do I think she's a great actress? No, acting is what I do." So I'm harder on people when they say, "Oh, I can act." I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft. Your craft, J-Lo? Bit of a stretch for someone who bit the hand who fed her. And I'm of course talking about her relationship with Rosie Perez, because J-Lo wouldn't have a career without her, yet bashes her. Perez was the choreographer at an open casting call for In Living Color in 1991. While the show's creator called J-Lo a chubby and corny looking girl during audition, Rosie saw potential in dancing, was adamant they gave J-Lo a chance. But in her autobiography, Perez recalled that soon, quote, "all of the girls are coming into my office, complaining how J-Lo is manipulating wardrobe, manipulating makeup, and me, all to her advantage," Perez wrote. Adding in that when she confronts Lopez about this, she reacted like, quote, "some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest." Though Lopez left In Living Color after just 2 seasons, once she made it big in Hollywood, she went right on a smear campaign on Perez, making disparaging comments about the woman. "I was blindsided," Perez said. "I thought we were cool. I called her up and she wouldn't pick up. And then the next time the pair run into each other, J-Lo pretends nothing ever happened." Nothing new. J-Lo likes to pretend a lot of things, like that her career wasn't built off of theft. It starts, of course, with Sony chairman Tommy Mottola and his contentious divorce from Mariah Carey. The newly Sony-side J-Lo was young and pretty and very desperate. So, Tommy chose to use her as his pawn to try and sabotage Mariah's Glitter soundtrack. And he did so by giving J-Lo the same samples and beats he saw Mariah using. Mariah's single still comes out on top, but Mottola did, however, find success in damaging Mariah's career, and J-Lo and her team learned that her success laid in using the work of other artists. She especially profited off of Black underground artists, either by literally using their vocals or by taking and rewriting their songs with differing lyrics. Said artists were those like Shantae Moore, Christina Milian, Usher, Mariah Carey, and of course Ashanti, who wrote Ain't It Funny, and Natasha Ramos, who wrote Jenny from the Block. Both artists' backgrounds, ad-libs, laughs, and main vocals were used in the songs but uncredited. J-Lo's theft of music became so persistent and even repetitive for some artists that many began leaking their own music so J-Lo wouldn't steal it. And Usher was the first, but definitely not the last, to loudly sue the singer and win for it. But just like J-Lo, since The Block was mentioned, I'm now going to bring it up and tell numerous stories about it. This first one, how Jenny caused a fiasco. So Lopez once starred in a Fiat commercial in which she drove around the Bronx and explained why her old neighborhood continues to inspire her. Her deal with the Italian manufacturer was reportedly worth millions, yet she refused to actually return to the block that she sang about and forced Fiat to find a body double to do so. The owner of Mott Haven Barbershop, seen in the ad, said the commercial featuring the Fiat 500 car drove up and down the street of East 136, but Lopez was not at the wheel. Instead, it was a double that looked like her. J-Lo's people refused to comment on it, but Fiat was forced to, and they make a public statement explaining that the body double was because of scheduling decisions. I guess I can't be too surprised given that J-Lo even went so as far to refuse financial aid to her own old high school and community. Jenny from the Block has donated, rather stingily and minimally over the years, to charity, but never to her own suffering neighborhood, which has now been criticized by her former principal, Claire Latempa from the Holy Family School, for allegedly turning her back on the community. Latempa, who worked alongside the star's own mother, Lupe, at the school, tells the New York Daily News, Jennifer hasn't even sent us a CD. Her mother, Lupe, was wonderful. A sweetie. Wonderful with the kids. When Jennifer became famous, I asked Lupe if Jennifer could donate a scholarship in her name, and Lupe said, that's her money and that's it. The school board has since sent inquiries to the singer in the past, asking for potential scholarships be set up in her name for prominent music or dance students, but they've received no response. And Latempa adds that the recession hit parents hard. Many of them are single mothers. A lot have lost their job. And she said, I have one mother who worked at St. Vincent's Hospital for 25 years who's out of work. It's a hard time for families to make tuition. I keep praying she'll donate. It's hard to imagine J-Lo will donate anything though when she did something like the casino reclaim. Several TikTok users have accused Lopez of not tipping her waitstaff, but two stories in particular take the cake, or in this case, the tip. So TikTok user Penny claims that her friend, once employed at the Las Vegas Tavern, told her about serving Ben Affleck one night and he gave said friend a $10K tip for the service. But once J-Lo caught wind of the tip money, she allegedly took it back. Apparently, Affleck was so mortified that the next day he sent a bouquet and $25,000 tip to the server. In a second TikTok now deleted, a woman corroborates this story, claiming the couple's notoriously anti-tipping. Lopez tells Affleck not to tip. He doesn't tip anymore though, baby. You don't need to tell him nothing. He ain't doing it. Taking back tips is some next level behavior from a millionaire like J-Lo, but the woman also cares so little about livelihood of others, she makes her staff jump through hoops. So, a flight attendant told Star Magazine how J-Lo refused to even acknowledge him after he asked to take her drink order. Instead, she turned her head away and told her personal assistant, please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and a lime. And in 2022, amid TikTok's storm of fans sharing negative encounters with Lopez, one user, Kayla, shared how her father worked for a driving company, but he refused to drive for J-Lo after learning her rules. Drivers can't look at her or talk to her, they can't let her luggage touch the ground, and if they even glance through the rearview mirror at her, they could be subjected to a scolding. This is believable since a woman on Quora, Emily Watford, shared her experience working in a concert arena and watching a doorman get fired for making eye contact with J-Lo. And there is rumors of a construction crew from her house who were all banned from eye contact as well. It's absolutely insane to me though how stingy J-Lo is given how much money she makes, but even worse is she has incredibly low standards for earning it as well. Like performing for dictators. According to the Human Rights Watch, Turkmenistan is one of the world's most repressive countries. So it was little surprise that J-Lo is heavily criticized when she agreed to perform for its president's 56th birthday celebrations in 2013. This man's a tyrant responsible for breaching countless human rights laws, and she declared, it was our pleasure towards the end of her set, and we wish you the very happiest of birthdays. Lopez representatives pleaded ignorance following the public backlash, one claiming in a statement that the A-lister would have turned down the invitation if she'd been aware of the president's past, as if she doesn't have access to Google. It would have been a viable excuse also if J-Lo hadn't already done similarly before, tour. She took to the stage for an Aussie oligarch and then a Uzbek businessman's wedding for $1 million sums. And ahead of 2 controversial gigs in Russia, she reportedly told fans, "I don't like to talk politics, to be quite honest." But she seems really okay dropping political words. You know, like when J-Lo thought everyone would let her get away with dropping a slur in her 2001 remix of I'm Real. Not only did the song have zero similarity to the original whatsoever, but the Latina singer bravely drops the N-word in the opening verse. Penned by Ja Rule, who also rapped on the record, and its producer Irv Gotti, the track quickly came under fire from Hot 97, Star, and Buckwild. The morning radio DJs implored listeners to voice their disapproval of the song, and even planned to throw rice and beans at Lopez when she took to the Rockefeller Center's outdoor plaza stage for the Today Show. Edward Hawkins told the Washington Post at the event, "The singer still needs to make amends," stating when your music is geared towards suburbanites, there's a certain way you should carry yourself. Using a word like that when less than a third of her audience is African American or Latino is inappropriate. Lopez, however, never apologized for the stunt, instead insisting in a quote, "For anyone to think or suggest or say that I'm racist is really absurd and hurtful to me." A statement which very obviously doesn't actually even address her usage of the word at all, let alone the true reason that people were criticizing her.
Once a couple 20 years ago, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are now back together, and fans are. Ben is reportedly angry with Jennifer currently after her new movie about their love life was recently released. Insiders told The Heat that Affleck was reportedly scared that J-Lo's new film, This Is Me Now, would ruin his career, and apparently that fear has not dissipated. There is a very real risk that this film will not get the reaction she is expecting. Ben's been complaining to friends this could end up being Gigli 2.0. They said it will be especially embarrassing for him considering the career that he has built up and how seriously he takes his projects. He is scared he's made a big mistake getting involved. This is the second project they've worked on together, and since Gigli was so panned by critics, receiving a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes and losing over $60 million at the box office, it seems as though Affleck has been worried about the same treatment, and it allegedly caused problems in their marriage. Ben Affleck also recently admitted the romance forced him to make major compromises. Jennifer was really inspired by this experience, which is how artists do their work, Affleck said. They get inspired by their personal life. It moves you. I know as a writer and director, I certainly do the same things, but things that are private, I always felt are sacred and special, in part because they are private. So this was something of an adjustment for me. At a screening earlier this week for the documentary, Lopez said that her husband was a quote, reluctant participant in the whole thing. According to People, she told the audience during a Q&A session, the other scary part was that I was bringing into it my husband, who was kind of the reluctant participant and a silent participant and all. Affleck still admits his hesitancy with having the spotlight on their relationship. It's the first time that she's done something as an artistic form of expression that was purely for the sake of what she had to express. It was about bringing out the things she felt inside that she just wanted to say, Affleck said. And I don't really love being in the making of a documentary about my personal life, which is why I'm so relieved that it's not really, and it seems like I might be in this, but not really. I was worrying for no reason. The movie wasn't about me, it was about the ability to love yourself, and that love story is a lot effing harder to find than Prince Charming. Celebrity matchmaker Alessandra Conti notes that there's been a shift in how the public engages with famous couples. Navigating the complexities of fame and having a very public relationship was challenging back in the early 2000s, but now it has reached a different level. Every couple who is remotely in the public eye experiences an intense level of scrutiny, especially with the dawn of social media, she told Fox News. However, J-Lo and Ben have kept a relatively low profile when it comes to social media, and although they're supporting each other at professional events, they have kept the intimate details of their relationship private. This is a smart strategy, and as long as their privacy is maintained, it is a sustainable situation for him and J-Lo. Ben also needs to understand that whoever he dates, he will be scrutinized in the public eye. This is one of the trade-offs of fame, she says. In the documentary, the couple admitted they, quote, just crumbled under the pressure of being a tabloid phenomenon, and it put a strain on their relationship, leading them to call off their 2003 wedding 3 days before it was supposed to happen. I had a very firm sense of boundaries initially around the press. Well, Jen, I don't think objectively objected to it the way I did. I very much did object to it," Affleck said. "Getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media. And then I realized it's not a fair thing to ask. It's sort of like you're gonna marry a boat captain, you want to like the water. We're just two people with kind of different approaches trying to learn to compromise." J-Lo is no stranger to headlines and tabloid drama though. Let's go down memory lane and rehash some of J-Lo's most shocking controversies. In 2020, Shakira and J-Lo co-headlined the Super Bowl halftime show, and she was accused of throwing some serious shade at Shakira. Lopez was seen getting into a heated debate with an NFL producer about her idea to have caged child performers on stage, a reference to the living conditions that youngsters face at border detention centers. She said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing. I want something real. I want something that's gonna make a statement, that's gonna say that we belong here and we have something to offer." The use of the term belly dancing, something which Shakira is very famous for, left many believing that she was dismissing her co-star's contributions. Jennifer Lopez was also accused of being insensitive to her husband's addiction issues in 2023 when she launched her own brand of alcoholic cocktails. The Let's Get Loud singer put her famous name to Dalola, a range of drinks created with mixologist Lynette Marrero. But having only just walked down the aisle with Ben Affleck, a recovering alcoholic, this latest business venture left a sour taste for some fans. There's also a rumor that J-Lo didn't used to sing on her old records. Rumors had been circulating for years that Jennifer Lopez had more than a little vocal help on hits such as Play, Ain't It Funny, and I'm Real. And in 2014, fellow R&B star Ashanti appeared to confirm that these tracks were essentially uncredited duets. Jenny from the Block is another Lopez banger whose chorus you may struggle to hear the lead artist on. In 2019, Natasha Ramos said J-Lo did indeed go in the studio and lay down background vocals over my voice. So I wouldn't say that she's so much lip syncing. However, the backgrounds are predominantly me, some ad-libs and laughs as well. Luckily, Ramos doesn't hold a grudge against the Hollywood star, but does against her label for failing to give her proper credit. Last year on TikTok, there was a viral trend going around, fans exposing J-Lo horror stories, and some of these are shocking. One woman described the experience of helping J-Lo at Foot Locker. She said Lopez, quote, "cussed me out because the store didn't have the correct size for the shoes she wanted to buy her twins." But that was nothing compared to the story another woman had after Lopez came to stay in a house where she used to work as a maid. She described how a nail artist was called in to give Lopez a pedicure in bed, which the nail tech had to do upside down because Lopez, who was laying on her stomach, refused to roll over onto her back. And if you're thinking of making eye contact with J-Lo, never do it. A TikToker who says that her father worked as a driver for a car company, often used by J-Lo, said that even a driver glancing in the rear view mirror sparked Lopez to berate him for invading her privacy. Unsurprisingly, her father eventually refused to drive Jennifer ever again. J-Lo's new Amazon Prime movies aren't getting the best hype, as some say it is the worst movie ever made. One reviewer made a list called The Reasons Why This Sucked. "I had no idea what was going on in the movie," she says. "There was no theme, actually. There were too many themes. There were so many talented artists in the movie who were used more as props. They should have had a bigger role." She goes on to say, "This movie seems like an ode to herself for nailing down a man, Ben Affleck. It's not really about love. This is a movie about conquering a man." She's basically telling everybody that the other relationships that her and Ben had were just filler until they could be together again. Her kids and Ben kids are going to be watching this. Do they really need to know how much she loves sleeping with their dad? We all know it's not her voice singing those songs, and then she continues by saying, "And if it is, auto-tune should get a lot of the credit." She is narcissistic, over the top, and way too in love with herself. For people clicking more than 2 stars, did you actually watch it, or are you just clicking on 5 stars because you love this ego maniac? Yikes. Alright, back to Ben and Jennifer. More inside details of their private life were released in her accompanying documentary that was just released this past week. Early in the documentary, Lopez reveals that she showed her musical collaborators a collection of letters that Affleck gave to her as a gift. Gift. This book is a book that Ben gave me on our first Christmas back together. It's every letter and email that we wrote to each other from 20 years ago. And today, she says, the cover of the thick binder says, handwritten, the greatest love story never told by Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, 2001 to 2022 and counting. Jennifer explains, it became like our Bible and we just left it there in the studio. Ben Affleck, however, was surprised their correspondences were made public. I was like, you've been showing all the musicians all these letters? And they were like, yeah, we call you Pen Affleck, he recalls in the documentary. I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told, and if you're making a record about it, that seems kinda like you're telling it. He adds later that he had to adjust to the change. But things that are private, I've always felt are sacred and special because they're private. So this was something of an adjustment for me.
Usher was left out of an important decision once, and it led to some legal troubles for J-Lo. The song in question here is Get Right. Get Right was written by Usher and producer Rich Harrison for Confessions. The album was released by Usher in 2004. The song was originally called Ride. The thing was, it wasn't good enough for the album, or something went wrong. Either way, it didn't make the cut, and vault tracks weren't common yet, so the song sat there until J-Lo was interested. Harrison decided to give the track to J-Lo, presumably without checking with Usher first if his reaction is anything to go off of. Usher claimed he didn't sign off on the decision and was quick to demand publishing rights. Obviously, the song made it out on J-Lo's side as it was released and is now considered a fan favorite. Shawnette Harrell sang the chorus to popular J-Lo song If You Had My Love, but was credited as just a background singer. Having others lend vocals to songs is super common in Hollywood. In recent years, it's more common that people will sing the majority of their song, and other voices will truly be background vocals. It seems in this case, Harrell might not have been credited properly if she really did sing the chorus and J-Lo was just lip-syncing along. Likely though, J-Lo did put some vocals in there, mixed in with Harrell handling the brunt of it. As for crediting the person as a background singer, the vocals were mixed in a way that the background vocals typically were, plus there is no way to actually know if J-Lo was the one to sign off on that. Christina Milian is now a singer and actress. You might recognize her from the Netflix movie Falling in Love, the Kim Possible theme song, or the J-Lo song Play. Christina co-wrote the song and did record some vocals for it, vocals that can be heard on J-Lo's version of the track. But as we know now, that did not happen. But J-Lo did kind of steal her work. Not really, because she would have had to get permission, but you know what I mean. People thought maybe Christina felt negatively towards J-Lo. It turns out that is very much not the case. In an interview with Page 6, Christina got to clear up any rumors swirling around the internet. She said there is nothing malicious between her and J-Lo. She talked quite highly of the singer, and even explaining that she was okay not being fully credited for the track, saying hands down she killed it. She's so good, I love that song, I'm on the credits for whatever nature, as a writer and for singing backgrounds. There is credit for that. I'm also just so happy that she did it because she's an icon, she's amazing. It's funny when people talk about this being kind of a thing about me singing on the song with Jennifer. I mean, I have background singers on some of my songs. It's no different than Michael Jackson having background singers on songs or Britney Spears. This is what music is made of. You want a blend of voices, it makes songs better to me. She even clarified why the song went to J-Lo, explaining that she liked another party song she had written more, AM to PM, and figured that only one would make the album, so she passed on play. J-Lo caught it and recorded it, doing some rewrites with Christina, and then it was off and hitting the charts. Ironically, it could be argued J-Lo's song, I'm Real, is not very real at all. Ashanti is the real deal here, at least when it comes to the chorus, and ad-libs, and the writing of the song. Allegedly, the song I'm Real by Jennifer Lopez was written by Ashanti. She sung the demo that was given to J-Lo. Usually artists, when they get demos, they just use it to see what the song will sound like. Then they re-record the song because it's their song now and they want their vocals. At least that's what one might think. In this case, and a few more cases that we've looked at and will look at, it looks like J-Lo did not re-record anything, just kept the demo vocals and the ad-libs. Ashanti received credit for background background vocals, but the co-writing credit was nowhere to be found. So while J-Lo likely got permission from either the performer or the company, it wasn't a good look in the eyes of the public. To make the entire situation worse, J-Lo, who is Puerto Rican, used the N-word on the track. That was met with the appropriate response and callouts. I'm Real was so successful that Ashanti did right for J-Lo again, so there must not have been too much bad blood between the women. She came back to write Ain't It Funny, also adding some ad-lib vocals into this song. She did get to appear in the music video for this one. It's hard to imagine any J-Lo song being more popular than Jenny from the Block, but for a brief moment, all I have was the moment. While most of the song was J-Lo's vocals, part of the chorus was sampled from Deborah Law's song Very Special. Very Special came out in 1981 and J-Lo's song in 2002, so quite a bit of time between the two. Sony did get permission to use the sample, however, no one told the original singer, Deborah Law, so she took J-Lo to court. The case was dismissed, she tried again, and it was dismissed again. Specifically, she went to court over the sample, but that doesn't mean it was Law's vocals on the J-Lo track. The part of the chorus that wasn't J-Lo was a woman named Makeba Riddick. Riddick was with Rock Nation at the time. Makeba does have a connection to another famous track, Love the Way You Lie, featuring Rihanna. She produced Rihanna's vocals. This one is mainly a fan rumor and speculation. Kunela Cox was a background singer on Jennifer Lopez's tours and was possibly a vocalist on her hit song Love Don't Cost a Thing. Love Don't Cost a Thing is one of J-Lo's biggest hits, so it makes sense it would eventually be examined with a magnifying glass, or I guess just a good ear to pick apart to see if J-Lo is singing. Some fans would argue that in parts of the song, she isn't, that instead of J-Lo's vocals being heard, it's actually Cox. Cox is not that big of an artist, unfortunately, though she is very talented. She released some of her own music and albums back in the early 2000s, but they didn't do very well. A leaked demo caused people to listen to Lopez's signature track, Jenny from the Block, a little more closely, as it was rumored that J-Lo didn't even sing part of her most popular tune, and that some vocals actually belonged to Natasha Ramos. Of all the people on this list, Natasha is probably one of the most outspoken. She has used her multiple social media accounts to prove her involvement with the hit song. Using her X account, she tweets out her demo for the song, telling people to compare for yourselves. However, that was mainly in response to people saying she was lying about ever being involved with the track. Back in 2019, she tweeted a short summary of her involvement, writing, "I just want to clarify something. J-Lo did indeed go into the studio and lay down some background vocals over mine. So I wouldn't say she's so much lip syncing, however the backgrounds are predominantly me, some ad-libs and laughs as well." So that is nice to get cleared up. J-Lo is technically still singing her biggest song, just with a little more help than we may have thought. Social media star Samantha Barbash was the inspiration behind the critically acclaimed film Hustlers, produced and starring Jennifer Lopez. Samantha, however, does not appreciate the film and actually sued J-Lo and her company for defamation. Samantha shared her perspective on the situation in an interview with TMZ. She said, "They basically stole my story. I wouldn't sign my rights away. I wasn't giving away my film and TV rights for peanuts. J-Lo doesn't work for free, why would I?" Further claiming that 87% of the film made was wrong. Samantha's case was ultimately dismissed. Brandy might have been the one mad at J-Lo for taking her song, but she has also now accidentally, maybe purposely, roped herself into the feud between Mariah Carey and J-Lo. Let's start with the Brandy drama. Brandy wrote a song called Ride or Die for her album Aphrodisiac. The problem was there was a bunch of delays with the album, and for some reason those delays meant that Brandy no longer had the song and it went to J-Lo for her Rebirth album. Ride or Die did still keep quite a few Brandy vocals though, which I can only imagine added fuel to the feud fire. How did Brandy get into the decades-long feud with Mariah and J-Lo though? Well, she posted a picture with Carey in 2017 and captioned it #SheKnowsMe, to which Carey confirmed in the comments, "I sure do." This exchange might mean nothing to the average person, but to J-Lo fans this was a declaration of war. See, back in the early 2000s when J-Lo was starting to become a major name and Mariah Carey was releasing hits left and right, Carey was on a red carpet and the topic moved to Lopez, to which Carey replied with, "I don't know her." Such a simple sentence, and yet it ignited decades-long feuds, so that's what J-Lo fans believe Brandy was referencing with her hashtag caption. But that one little comment on Carey's part could not have possibly been the thing to ignite the feud. Maybe the straw that broke the camel's back, but it certainly wasn't the first thing to happen between the pair. The first big step was probably, if you look at it from Mariah Carey's perspective, when J-Lo stole a never-before sampled song from her ahead of her album release. That was pretty bad. The song that had never been sampled before was Firecracker by Yellow Magic Orchestra. Mariah wanted it for her upcoming song Loverboy, so she of course applied for a license. The only thing was her ex-husband must have hated her because he also applied for the same song, and unfortunately for Carey, beat her out. So J-Lo's track, I'm Real, got the sample, and it also featured vocals from another singer named Shailene Thomas. Presumably, this fiasco is what sparked the flames of the feud.
At number 10, we have Jennifer's dismissal of bad teacher actress Cameron Diaz when she made the comment that she believes Cameron is a quote, lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities, and how she wishes she would have done more with them. In turn, Cameron made a statement that Jennifer's behavior on set was rather cold, as she pretty much ignored her. She also described Jennifer as being someone who was hard to work with. As a clapback, Cameron further pushed that J-Lo should stick to her day job of singing. However, in the same Jennifer interview, it wasn't just Cameron that she came for. She also took shots at fellow actresses Gwyneth Paltrow and Winona Ryder. For Gwyneth, Jennifer said, "Tell me what she's been in? I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." On Winona, Jennifer recalled, "I was never a big fan of hers. In Hollywood, she's revered. She gets nominated for Oscars, but I've never heard anyone in the public or among my friends say, oh, I love her." At number 9, we have radio show host and interviewer Howard Stern, whose reasonings for not liking J-Lo comes in many forms. For one, he hates her music. Howard's typical musical vibe is 90s rock and grunge rather than early 2000s pop. But not only does Howard not enjoy Jennifer's music, he's also bashed it in the form of jokes on numerous occasions despite his attraction to fairly few pop songs in the past. In summary, it was Howard Stern's show co-host Robin who made claims while they watched her on the floor music video that radio stations were hesitant to play the song since she hadn't been charting for a while. Apparently, to further this point, he described that the relevance of J-Lo being a judge on American Idol kind of forced the song down consumers' throats, and Howard later accused Jennifer of being self-absorbed because the single debuted on American Idol. Howard further bashed her Super Bowl performance and even ridiculed Jimmy Fallon's praises for it as well. There was also the incident where Howard claims he spent the entirety of his run-in with his friend Marc Anthony, who was married to Jennifer at the time, being completely ignored. This further pushed the established reputation of Jennifer being a snotty diva. Howard's last straw was Jennifer's interview, where she was asked if she found Howard attractive, and remained silent while expressing a puking expression. Since then, Howard has not let up on the insults about her attitude, music, and business choices whenever she's brought up on his show. At number 8, we have Gloria Estefan's shade to Jennifer for her halftime documentary spiel about performing with Shakira for the 2020 Super Bowl. When Gloria admitted she chose not to participate with no regrets, she blasted Jennifer's comments about their experience when she sat down with Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live in June. Quote, "Imagine what J-Lo would have said if I was third. I literally would come out, done, shake your booty, and out. It was their moment. Plus, I didn't want to go on a diet in December." This was in light of J-Lo's reaction to Shakira co-headlining the sports event. Benny Medina said in the film that it was insulting of the Super Bowl to request 2 Latina artists when one had already historically done the work. Yet Jennifer was the one who was upset about splitting her time on stage, stating that they only had 5 minutes to sing all their desired songs accurately. Quote, "We have to have our singing moments. This is the worst idea in the world to have 2 people do the Super Bowl." While Jennifer and Shakira communicated about their upcoming performance, Jennifer added, "They said 12 minutes. I got a good confirmation that we could have an extra minute or 2, so now we're at like 13-14 minutes. I think Shakira, what we should have is you should have half the time and I should. If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." At number 7, we have singer Brandy, who was apparently picking sides when the Lopez-Carey feud was at its peak. Brandy had shared an Instagram photo of her embracing Mariah in 2017 with a short 3-word caption of #SheKnows Me. Brandy's followers were on her like water as soon as the post was uploaded, speculating that the caption had everything to do with Mariah's famously memed "I don't know her." In response, Brandy denied there being any drama, rearranging the caption to then say, "I swear I don't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny. Can't take this one down. I love this picture. And whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable. You know that I am." Brandy also continued unapologetically with, "I've met her several times like the several seats that should be taken. She does know me." And if things couldn't get any shadier, Mariah Mariah made sure to clear things up in Brandy's comments with a simple "I sure do." At number 6, we have JLo's first husband, Ohani Noah. Despite their marriage being short-lived and ending as of 1998, it seems Ohani still can't stand Miss Jenny from the block. Their 9-month marriage apparently wasn't all that great, as Ohani had been working hard to slander his ex-wife's name on a number of occasions. Back in 2006, Ohani published a tell-all titled The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller. JLo halted this project with a lawsuit and claimed that Ohani was breaking their confidentiality agreement. Jennifer won $545,000 in damages, and Ohani was given a court date which forbid him from criticizing, denigrating, casting in a negative light, or otherwise disparaging Jennifer. In the next 3 years, Ohani threw himself back into news outlets when he made threats to release a sexually suggestive video of Jennifer that was filmed during their honeymoon and resulted in another $10 million lawsuit. In 2016, his appearance on $1 Million Matchmaker saw Ohani claiming he loaded the blame on Jennifer for their split and how he was looking forward to spending a lifetime with her before she chose her career over him. At number 5, we have former NBC World of Dance TV host and mentor Jenna Dewan, who sat on the panel with then executive producer Jennifer. Although the two dancers and celebrities seemed fine during the 2017 reality dance competition tapings, their animosity behind the scenes apparently ran deep. An unnamed outlet source once stated on Jenna's behalf that Jenna, quote, can't stand Jen's over-the-top theatrical fakery, adding that Jen never fails to ham it up when the cameras are rolling and she hijacks the show. It seems she'd prefer if Jenna just stayed in the background. Every situation, even off camera, is micromanaged by JLo, and Jenna feels very excluded. This alleged feud seemed to be squashed fairly quickly though when Gossip Cop reached out to a show producer and one of Jenna's reps and was informed that the reported beef was misleading. However, given Jennifer's past, can we really be sure of this? At number 4, we have actress Rosie Perez. She and Jennifer apparently had lifelong ties with one another that seemed great on the outside. But both Puerto Rican dancers raised in New York have zero love for each other, according to Rosie's 2014 Handbook for an Unpredictable Life memoir. In it, Rosie discusses working on In Living Color with Jennifer in a wickedly horrible light. Quote, all the girls were coming into my office complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage. Despite Jennifer dipping from ILC after 2 seasons, Rosie stuck with her words of Jennifer supposedly keeping the flame of their feud burning for years after they parted. The words on the pages of Rosie's book portrayed Jennifer to be a two-faced person who would crap on Rosie one minute but then act super sweet like nothing happened between them the next. At number 3, we have artist Rihanna, who seemed to be unimpressed by Jennifer after the star posted herself chilling with Rihanna's on-again off-again reported love interest Drake backstage at her 2016 Winter Vegas show. Naturally, Jennifer's snap captioned, "Look who rolled up at my show tonight to say hi, #love him," sparked massive dating rumors. And it probably didn't help that Jennifer uploaded a follow-up pic of her and Drake bear hugging and looking overly comfortable snuggling up. While many were unconvinced about the headlines, Rihanna was seemingly not here for any of it, which is why she reportedly went on to dub Jennifer as a desperate traitor. According to an unnamed insider who spoke to Touch, Rihanna had felt like she experienced the ultimate betrayal by Jennifer, since they once had a tight-knit bond where Rihanna could seek solace in Jennifer for her relationship. Rihanna did not publicly address their rumored issues, however, she did seem to throw some shade when she suddenly hit the unfollow button on JLo's Insta. At number 2, we have Nicki and Jennifer's heated back and forth jabs that started with an exchange during a 2012 American Idol episode, where Nicki performed and Jennifer was a judge. When the female rapper completed her set, she boldly asked, "I was hoping maybe I could come back and be a guest judge. JLo, can you scoot over a bit?" To which Jennifer immediately quipped, "I don't know if there's enough room for the both of us." Nicki seemed to hold on to that comment when she attempted to smooth things over back with The Hollywood Reporter, saying, "She didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it. We were just joking around." However, in 2015, things were still just as messy when Jennifer opened the American Music Awards performing a medley of songs which included Nicki's hit Anaconda. Nicki seemed to be unimpressed by her performance, as the camera gave away her emotionless expression, which told us everything we needed to know, as one fan hinted. Nicki came to Jennifer's defense at that point though when she fired back with a tweet to a fan explaining, "I'm looking at my own face on the screen when I'm looking to the right. I turn back and look at her." At number 1, we have the iconic I Don't Know Her rivalry that has been carried out for years now. This beef has been ongoing since the early 2000s, with both stars being repeatedly questioned on whether or not they actually like each other. It seems they can't really decide though. Host Andy Cohen brought up their beef on his show in 2014, where Jennifer nonchalantly played the situation off with, "I don't have a feud against her at all. I've read things she said about me that were not the greatest, but we don't know each other. I would love to meet her and I would love to be friends with her." However, she told Wendy Williams the exact opposite in 2016 for her show, explaining, "She's forgetful, I guess. We've met many times." Andy went straight to the source to speak with Mariah that same year, and in response, Mariah reiterated, "I don't know her. What am I supposed to say? Jennifer, of course, took this as major shade, and when people were flaming Mariah for her quote disastrous New Year's Eve performance that winter, Jennifer threw some shade of her own by liking a post referring to Mariah's performance as a train wreck. It seems Mariah got the final laugh though, because she made it rain shade in her 2020 memoir The Meaning of Mariah Carey, where she revealed her feud with Jennifer on top of slamming Jennifer's ex-husband and former CEO of Sony Music, Tommy Mottola, for allegedly attempting to ruin her career with Jennifer's help. Mariah claimed Tommy tried to sabotage the glitter soundtrack Firecracker and pushed that the movie's lead single Lover did not go unnoticed by Sony executives. Mariah also added that Sony rushed to make a single for another female entertainer on their label, but rather than naming Jennifer in the allegation in her sampling of Firecracker on I'm Real that same year, Mariah just concluded with her infamous comment, finishing her statement with, "After all that ish, Loverboy ended up being the best-selling single of 2001 in the United States."
Number 10. Mariah Carey. This celebrity feud is legendary, so it's only fair that we start off with this one. J-Lo and Mariah Carey have been at each other's throats since the early 2000s. In fact, most people remember the iconic line that Mariah told a German reporter, "I don't know her." Although it sounds hilarious, Mariah has maintained her negative opinion of J-Lo all these years. For example, an interviewer once asked her what she thought about Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez, and she responded by saying that they don't even belong in the same category for a very specific reason. Well, it's hard. You can't really put those two people in the same category because one is in a really different generation. They just started singing later. But when you talk about Beyonce, I think she's wonderful, she's great, she's a talented person. But it seemed that she forgot to compliment J-Lo as well. A few years later, Carey spoke to Andy Cohen and doubled down on her comments. Quote, "I don't know her, what am I supposed to say?" It looks like it'll take a miracle for these two iconic performers to ever be on good terms. Number 9. Rihanna. There are several celebrities who can't stand Jennifer Lopez, but one of the biggest critics of the iconic singer is Rihanna. These two former best friends had a serious falling out in 2016 for the oldest reason in the book. They were fighting over the same guy. Before the feud began, Rihanna and J-Lo were friendly to each other and had no reason for animosity. But trouble started brewing right after Rihanna and Drake broke up. They had a summer fling that same year, which was pretty casual, but it definitely still counted. Girl code was broken when J-Lo started getting close with Drake almost immediately after. But the feud really became public when Jennifer posted a photo of her and Drake hanging out backstage at her show in Las Vegas with the caption #LoveHim. In fact, the two were even spotted hugging, and fans quickly realized that something very shady was happening. An inside source close to the star said that Riri felt like she had suffered the ultimate betrayal and called Jennifer's behavior desperate. It must have been accurate because in December of 2016, she suddenly unfollowed Lopez on Instagram. Number 8. Gloria Estefan. Cuban-American superstar Gloria Estefan was originally supposed to be performing at the 2020 Super Bowl alongside fellow Latina pop stars J-Lo and Shakira. But after seeing J-Lo's new documentary called Halftime, where the singer went on a rant about having to share the stage with Shakira, Gloria put her comments on blast. She didn't seem to agree that it was the worst idea ever to have the artist share the stage, and explained why Lopez got it wrong on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Quote, "Look, this is the bottom line. You have very little time, like 12 minutes or something, to get things on and off the set. So could you do it with one person? Yes. But I think they wanted to throw a Miami and Latin extravaganza, and they tried to pack it in as much as possible." The Grammy Award winner also confirmed that she chose not to participate for a reason, seeing as J-Lo got so worked up about having two people perform. Quote, "Okay, and imagine what J-Lo would have said if I was the third. I literally would come out, done a shake your booty and out." But she went on to insist that it was their moment and that she didn't want to go on a diet in December anyway. Number 7. Nick Cannon. The Wild 'N Out star took a cue from his ex-wife Mariah Carey's famous phrase to throw shade at Jennifer Lopez during his guest appearance on The Wendy Williams Show. While discussing Hollywood crushes during the Hot Topic segment, the 41-year-old first named Carey, his ex-wife and mother to their two twins, Moroccan and Monroe. Quote, "Number 1, Mariah, the amazing mother, superstar, singer." He then went on to name Halle Berry and Naomi Campbell as his second and third choices. A producer then suggested J-Lo as an option, and he just responded with, "I don't know her." After the audience erupted into laughter, the host added, "That was a joke for the lambs. Shout out to the lambs, as Carey refers to her fans as the Lamely. Cannon made it clear who he supports in the ongoing battle of the divas, and naturally he sided with Carey, so we can't really fault him for that. It's been a bit of a running joke for years that Mariah wasn't kidding and didn't actually know JLo personally when she gave that interview, but it was too late to clear the air, as the classic "I don't know her" line has gone down in history as one of the best ways to shade someone. Number 6. Rosie Perez. Both Jennifer Lopez and Rosie Perez have served as inspirations to the Latin community for over 2 decades, but they haven't always gotten along. They met back in 1991 during an open casting call for In Living Color. At the time, Perez was the show's choreographer, and Lopez was auditioning to become a member of the dance troupe known as the Fly Girls. Her audition was unsuccessful, but Perez saw a star quality in JLo and actually pulled some strings to get her in. But after she was in the group, it became clear that Lopez didn't get along with her fellow dancers. According to Perez, she was labeled as a diva right away. All of the girls were coming into my office and complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me, all to her advantage. Perez said that at first she didn't believe it, but then JLo screamed at her saying, "I know I'm good, I'm better than any of these girls and you know it." What's worse is, after JLo left the show and made it big in the music industry, she went on talk shows trashing her former choreographer. Perez also implied that JLo ghosted her. Quote, "I called her up, she wouldn't pick up. Frustrated, I left her an irate message on her answering machine. Instead of calling me back and hashing it out like friends do, she went on a major talk show and reiterated my lashing." Number 5. Brandy. Brandy has had a public feud with Jennifer Lopez since 2017, and according to Kiwi Report, she made it clear that she supports Mariah Carey going against JLo too. Basically, she posted a photo of herself on Instagram hugging Carey with the hashtag #SheKnowsMe. The caption was super perfect and a great reference to that famous "I don't know her" comment. So the whole thing tells us that Brandy is totally teaming with Mariah. Brandy's post exploded on social media and Lopez fans immediately took offense to it. Mariah saw the backlash and chimed in to Brandy's photo, commenting with a simple "I sure do." But the singer was quick to defend herself from hate comments and edited the caption shortly after posting it with, quote, "Oh my god, what happened? I swear to goodness, I don't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and now everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny, can't take this one down. I love this picture and whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable. You know that I am." She totally doubled down on dissing Jennifer and siding with Mariah, adding, quote, "Also, I've met her several times. Like the several seats that should be taken, she does know me." Number 4. Nicki Minaj. These two have allegedly been feuding since 2012. It all started when Nicki was performing on one particular episode of American Idol at the same time that JLo was sitting on the judge panel. In a rather awkward moment, Nicki asked if she could come back on the show as a guest judge and asked JLo to scoot over. As a Latina artist hit back, she said, "I don't know if there's room for both of us." It was one of those joking moments that seemed like there was something else behind it, but nevertheless the two seemed to be just joking around, even though Nicki told a reporter backstage, quote, "She didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it." Okay, so now we're jumping to 2015 when fans swear that Nicki shaded JLo for performing her song at the American Music Awards. As she was performing a small part of Anaconda, the camera cut to Nicki in the audience looking less than happy with the rendition. The clip showed her emotionless face and made it seem like she didn't approve of the way her song was being used. Number 3. Ryan Seacrest. This incident gives Ryan every reason to hate JLo because it's pretty bad. Ryan Seacrest worked alongside the singer on American Idol and the two quickly became friends. But all that seemingly changed when the talk show host revealed that he flew down to Miami to celebrate her milestone 50th birthday, only to be denied entry at the door. Ouch. He recalled the whole story on Live with Kelly and Ryan and explained that he flew down from New York for only a few hours because he had to make it back in time for the next morning's show. But when he finally arrived, the doorman told him, "You're not on the list," to which he responded, "Clearly, there's a mistake. She invited me personally." But upon being denied, he checked the list and couldn't find his name. The doorman just asked him to wait, made a quick call, and was able to confirm that Seacrest was indeed on the guest list. But the host went on to say that he was the first person there and no one really got turned up until after he left. It would have certainly been a little embarrassing to say the least. Number 2, Cameron Diaz. Throughout the years, Jennifer Lopez has been known to speak negatively about her fellow actors, and it looks like it may have come back to bite her. During an interview in the late 90s, JLo explained that Cameron Diaz was just a lucky model who was given opportunities. She did mention that Diaz can be good when directed, but Lopez's past comments about Cameron's career allegedly made things super awkward between them when they both had to buckle down and work together in the 2012 comedy What to Expect When You're Expecting. Several anonymous sources on the set of the film claimed that the two stars did not get along at all during the shoot. In fact, it was reported that Cameron said the singer was a nightmare to work with. Quote, "She even said that Jen should stick to her day job, meaning American Idol and singing." According to The Insider, JLo demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and stops working when it suits her, and she had her assistant run over to her with food. This is what allegedly drove Cameron crazy. Another source claimed that the co-stars actively avoided one another while filming, and tensions were thick. Number 1, Ojani Noah. The former couple were married on February 22nd, 1997, and got divorced barely 1 year later, in January of 1998. It was so long ago that you would think Ojani has moved on from the relationship, but apparently he's still holding on to a bit of resentment. In fact, Jennifer's former flame was out to make a buck off their brief marriage by trying to expose revealing videos from their honeymoon. Ojani was even hauled into court after he started planning a tell-all movie based on the revealing home footage called How I Married Jennifer Lopez, the JLo and Ojani Noah story. The result? Well, she sued him for a whopping $10 million and demanded a permanent court order blocking her ex from making any videos public. Ojani also threatened to write a tell-all book unless he was paid $5 million by the singer. His unpublished book alleges that JLo had multiple affairs, including one with Marc Anthony during the 11 months that they were married. But a judge was not having it and awarded her $545,000 in damages and quashed the book, ruling that it violated a 2004 deal not to publish details of their relationship. Her team calls the movie an outrageous attempt to make money and received substantial compensation. So it's clear that he's still a little bit bitter.
Number 10, the alleged racism. Jennifer and Ben Affleck tied the knot in a surprise wedding in Las Vegas and decided to have a bigger ceremony not long after. This time around, they opted to celebrate at Ben's 87-acre compound that is just outside of Savannah, Georgia. But this choice in venue sparked criticism that shouldn't be ignored. Called by the family as the Big House, Ben purchased the home in 2003 and it features 3 separate homes within: the Oyster House, the Summer House, and the Greek Revival style home. The listing agent said, when talking about the home, every detail is historically accurate, from the plaster moldings to the heart of the pine floors. But it seems that because of being historically accurate in nature, it's left fans wondering. Commenters on social media began criticizing the couple for hosting a celebration at a plantation, which of course is a style of home that has association with some pretty horrible history. To make matters worse, Ben and Jen were aware of the dark history in his ancestral line. News One reported that 7 years later, Ben issued an apology after requesting the PBS show Finding Your Roots withheld information about his plantation-owning ancestor. This allegedly even led to PBS shelving the show. This left many fans wondering why the couple would choose this home at all as their wedding venue, as well as why they own it in the first place. Despite finding his roots and knowing some of his ancestors' dark past, many found this to highlight some problematic behavior of ignoring the dark history of some of the buildings. Though the house itself isn't true in time, the land is. The property was reportedly owned by a plantation manager and allegedly is an unmarked graveyard. Most assume that Jennifer was aware of this information prior to planning her wedding there, and this hasn't left a good taste in many fans' mouths about the couple since. Number 9, talk smack about other actresses. When a reporter from Movie Line turned up at Jennifer Lopez's home to conduct an interview in 1998, he was greeted with what he described as being an orchestrated and deliberate scene. While JLo was being pampered by a number of different staff members doing her business, while she was getting a massage, she seemingly felt the need to let loose during the interview as she started taking swipes at a number of her industry rivals. When she was asked what she thought about the actresses of whom she was competing for roles for, she said the Romeo and Juliet star Claire Danes does the same thing with every character she does, despite the fact that they work together on the set of Oliver Stone's neo-noir crime thriller U-Turn. Lopez then went on to say she was never really a big fan of the two-time Oscar nominee Winona Ryder, and she also went off on Gwyneth Paltrow, who would win Best Actress at the Academy Awards the following year by saying, "Tell me what she's been in." Jennifer then went on to tell the reporter in the infamous interview, "I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I've heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I've ever heard about her work." Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Number 8. Bad acting. You can't deny Jennifer Lopez had some movie hits in the past, but lately fans are torn, questioning if she has just lost the touch. After failing to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actress in the movie Hustlers in 2020, fans took to social media to share their thoughts. The TV host Wendy Williams believes she was completely snubbed, saying, "Let me tell you something, Jen, you were robbed. They robbed you purposely because they're jealous of you." But some fans just didn't agree, speculating that it was her acting that was a direct result in the 0 nominations. A fan wrote at the time, "She has acted in 36 films but has never won an Oscar. Yeah, that's because they're all bad." They added, "No one wants to tell her the truth. Hustlers was a terrible movie, and her acting was very one-dimensional." Other fans seem to agree that maybe Jennifer has lost the sparkle that she did once have. On Reddit, when asked, "What do you think of Jennifer Lopez?" one user wrote, "She had promise. Honestly, she has fallen prey to the fame game. She brought solid work for a couple films, but she is no longer a phenomenon or a rare talent." They even went on to add, "She can fade with people taking very little notice. Things have a way of working themselves out." Harsh statements for sure, but what do you guys think? Are Jennifer's acting days behind her?
Number 7. Insults musicians. During another Movie Line interview, Jennifer also offered her opinion on fellow pop star Madonna's career when she claimed Madonna was good at the former, but not so good at the latter by saying, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when I say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." However, the Queen of Pop isn't the only musician Lopez has shaded, as there has been much speculation that JLo's short-lived relationship with Drake in 2016 was nothing but a publicity stunt. However, the fact that Rihanna, who had somewhat of a complicated relationship with the Canadian rapper over the years, unfollowed Lopez on Instagram after she was posted in a pic across the Grammy winners, it seems to suggest that there indeed was some truth to the coupling. Lopez then revealed that she and Drake were working on a song together, but working with JLo doesn't always end well, and Drake learned that the hard way after she dissed Drake during a live show in Las Vegas by telling the audience that he was nothing but a late night call for her. And we all wonder why he won't bring a nice girl home to his mom for once.
Number 6. Insensitive comments. Jennifer Lopez was called out for some criticized comments made about her Super Bowl halftime performance in 2020. For the halftime show, JLo came together with Shakira for an iconic event. Despite having 6 minutes of performance times each, it received a huge amount of praise from the stars. However, after Jen's documentary Halftime came out, discussing some of the struggles of the show, a few fans took back their former praise. Not only did Jen brand the whole thing as the worst idea in the world, but she had some very specific views on a political aspect. It seems her organizers just weren't seeing eye to eye with her at the time. During her performance, she was surrounded by children sitting cross-legged inside a glowing cage. Many came to the conclusion that these glowing cages were intended to look like immigrant children being held in cages at the US detention centers. You're probably thinking, how could this be bad, as this is a topic that should be more widely discussed? But it was her comments afterwards that got fans pretty heated. It seems the NFL was more reluctant to include this moment at all, which pushed JLo to fight back at the show's organizers in a heated phone call which was shown in her documentary. She said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just out here shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing." She went on to say, "I want something real, I want something that's going to make a statement." Not long after the documentary was released, a certain line about belly dancing found its way across Twitter. One Twitter user wrote, "In a new documentary, J-Lo compared belly dancing to just shaking your butt. She said this type of dance and what Shakira offered wasn't culturally relevant enough to be shown on stage." They continued on by saying, "This comes after she said she was not happy to share the stage with Shakira. She's bitter, loud, and wrong." Others even accused her of having an egocentric mindset, where she believes her culture is superior to others. One other social media user wrote, "To say that belly dancing, a Middle Eastern culture, has no substance is so egocentric and perhaps a little racist."
Number 5, drives co-stars crazy. Now, there's a list of actresses who have felt like Jennifer Lopez brings things a little too far on set, and one of those peoples on the list is Cameron Diaz, especially after Jennifer went on to diss her about her career to Movie Line by labeling Cameron as a lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities, to the point she wishes Cameron would have just done more with her talent. Jennifer's brutal assessment of Cameron's career trajectory reportedly made things a tad awkward for the pair when the actresses were both cast in the 2012 film What to Do When You're Expecting. On-set sources would then reveal that the two on set just couldn't get along. Lopez then didn't endear herself to Cameron, who allegedly said the pop star was a nightmare to work with, as she once even said to Jen she should stick with her day job, meaning American Idol and singing, as an insider even claimed that Jennifer demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and she would even stop work to have her assistant run her over some small protein and a veg-based meal. This drove Cameron crazy. Details of their feud would soon become a hot topic after it appeared in Star magazine, after a source claimed to the media outlet that the co-stars actively avoided one another by saying they don't interact much, but when they do, the tension is thick. And Jennifer just acts like Cameron doesn't exist. However, when both actresses denied the rift while promoting the movie, it then caused critics to say this was ultimately just all planned.
Number 4, music theft. From her career in acting to her music career, it seems controversies seem to follow her. Over the years, Jen has been accused of stealing songs from other prominent artists in order to gain more fame for her music quicker. Back in 2005, J-Lo released her 4th studio album, which was called Rebirth, though it seems to be received from some pretty mixed reviews. The song Get Right was pretty widely praised, and at the time it was reported that the singer Usher was furious though, accusing Jen of using his music. He said at the time, "I hate it, but I better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right. But I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." According to Usher, Get It Right was his song with the title Ride, and it was available to listen to show proof that it was her that just re-recorded a version of his own song. Not only that, but Jen was also accused of using Ashanti's vocals for her song I'm Real. She said at the time, "You should always care about who you give credit to, regardless of what industry you're in. It's really important to give credit." Luckily, in the end, she did get credit, but still, it's not a very good look.
Number 3, makes ridiculous demands. Most big musicians send riders when negotiating with a venue or organization prior to a gig, but if the stories are true, Jennifer Lopez has made some crazy diva demands over the last couple of years. As according to Huffington Post, J-Lo was all set to perform at the opening of the Indian Premier 2020 cricket tournament, which has a TV audience around 60 million people, in 2013. But apparently, she lost the gig when IPL bosses found out that she was asking for a private plane, numerous hotel rooms to accommodate all of her stylists and handlers, and the organization was so shocked to even point out they didn't even want to play ball with Jennifer and they would replace her with Pitbull. However, apparently those demands are nothing when you compare them to the impossible requests she made ahead of her medley performance at the World Music Awards in 2010. As the Mirror would report that the singer allegedly requested a helicopter to be on standby, as well as a custom-fitted speedboat and a pair of diamond-encrusted headphones to drown out the sound of the boat's motor. And her people have even requested that she had an entire floor of a hotel to herself to ensure she isn't hassled. Privacy was such a main concern, she even once had a piece of beach roped off for her as well.
Number 2, problems with staff. Jem seems to have been accused of treating her staff honestly pretty terribly. During a storm of fans sharing their uncomfortable moments with Jen, one woman accused the star of being rude to her drivers. The TikTok user revealed that her father once worked for a company that Jen would use to hire and provide provide drivers for her. The TikToker claimed that Jen does not allow the drivers to look at her, and that even if the driver looks through the rear view mirror, they weren't exempt from Jen's scolding. Not only that, but she refused to have her luggage ever touch the ground. Because of her diva temperament, she shared that her father refused to drive for JLo because of all the horror stories that he heard through the grapevine. JLo is no stranger to being called a diva, but not even being able to make eye contact really does seem a little bit extreme.
And coming in at number 1 today, we have too full of herself. There's confidence and then there's arrogance, and Jennifer Lopez has walked a dangerous tightrope between both categories for years. As the star even once declared in an interview with MovieLine that she herself is an A-list celebrity. When MovieLine then asked her why she was a hot property in Hollywood at the time, she then delivered an incredibly immodest answer by saying, "Because I'm the best." She said, "I feel I can do anything, any kind of role. I'm fearless." This kind of honesty is somewhat refreshing, but having too much belief in yourself and your own abilities will inevitably get under the skin of your colleagues and viewers alike. Lopez then claimed to have something called the stardom glow, but not everyone saw it that way. At the time of her career, even though it was 1998, it was a good year for the star, but she certainly fell out of favor with critics in 2003 when she landed the Worst Actress title at the Golden Raspberry Awards. And ever since, her career has had a bunch of ups and downs, and it seems like it gets worse whenever the actor lets all the fame go to her head.